A few weeks ago, I made a video talking about the biggest issues that I felt like Destiny was facing, mainly that of loot stagnation and there would be no way to display your achievements, along with the stagnation of content. Today, I want to make my suggestions on how to fix these things. To start off with, I wanted to talk about the loot stagnation of Destiny, as that I think is something everybody can agree with. I think loot stagnation is a very big thing in Destiny. I think it's a big issue in Destiny. And I think it's unfortunate because the loot in Destiny is usually really interesting and fun. However, as of the last few years even, I'd say, the loot just feels kind of same. You're chasing the same roles with the same things on them, but almost no difference in what they do other than maybe a color or maybe they are slightly better looking. I think Envious Arsenal is the perfect example of exactly what I'm talking about. As of episode Revenant, Envious Arsenal is now in the game and it essentially allows you to reload by shooting with another gun. This is effectively just auto-loading holster on crack. It is not that interesting though. I think the way you unstagnate loot is by making more fun perks, things that might not necessarily be super useful or strong, or either that, or you just let some perks really flourish, like you have with, as an example, MBSRs. I think a bigger thing into it is making more archetypes of guns. Making the different archetypes of guns, it has been probably the best thing Destiny has had in a while. The more unique variations of weapons is what keeps people coming back to the game. I think we need more of that. Or one per season, or like per episode, per drop, or whatever you want to call it, per content drop, is just not enough. We need more of the unique different weapons. Things such as a double fire hand cannon, the recently released double fire slug shotgun is also a great example of this, or like a dual fire ring for king nade launchers. Some of the things that I'd like to see added to the game that hasn't been added yet is a crossbow that would be interesting, maybe throwing knives, like something that is completely out there, unique, and that we haven't seen as a non-exotic variant. Because keep in mind, there's a difference between the exotic weapons and the non-exotic weapons. Because you usually, in some loadouts at least, I would say a lot less lately, but back in the day, usually you would always run with your exotic of choice and then, your legendary setups. And those legendaries are the ones that needs to be more unique. The exotics are already achieving that. But when the legendaries are boring, that is still the biggest part of your arsenal that is just completely stagnant. And that, of course, is also because builds are very stagnant in Destiny. All buildcraft essentially amounts to right now is more ability spam, and we need more than just more ability spam. I'd say an entirely new mod system or like an entirely new set of mods would definitely spice things up. More mind cells used to be an option for people like me who prefer gunplay, but maybe having something like Outriders had where you can spread an effect through your weapon would be interesting. There just needs to be something more to the game than just let me spam my abilities this amount of times, like Titans has the consecration spamming, Warlock has turrets and so on, right? Like, it's just not that interesting. It's just kind of whatever. Because you get to do it once and then you got to realize that it is literally all there is to do. And then you realize how boring that is. Destiny is good not because of its abilities, but because of its gunplay. We need guns to lean more into that. We need perks and armor to be more into gunplay. We don't need these ability spam builds as much. Unfortunately, even with the new armor changes, I don't see that changing unless they add some really heavy bonuses to, especially gunplay. Because quite frankly, why would you do that? When a grenade with the Rhymeco Raymond can clear out an entire group of ads, why would you ever bother shooting them? Why not just keep that ammo for the boss? I feel like that's sort of the issue that you're facing, because you have to look at it from an optimized perspective, as that's how people are gonna play. And I think that is just an incredibly annoying and big issue to see pop up. I think that idea of it just, all being around abilities is boring. because it also affects what you're getting when it comes to the loot drops. As an example, I always look for weapons that can focus into throwing more grenades, to playing with grenades, to having Devour up, because I practically mostly play Prismatic with Devour nowadays because it is just stronger. We need more gun-focused things. Again, War Monsters was an interesting idea. The entire idea of having this, like, being able to spread a plague through your guns, like Necrotic Grip Spot on crack, like as a build, would also be an interesting thing to try to lean into with a mod system. Maybe some other effects. You can let yourself go wild with it, right? I think there are ideas out there, and I think Disney has the systems to it. Like, you can have one that essentially is just you building up scorching an enemy until they explode, or something like that. Like, there are things, right? Now, let's just move over to displaying achievements. Now, let's talk a little bit about achievements in Destiny. To start off with, I wanted to give you an example of the ideal system, in my opinion. A system that allows you to display it and for everybody to look at you and go, damn, that's nice. And also, it's gonna heavily lean into my proposals of ideas for Bungie to fix that entire thing with displaying achievements. You see, I am a RuneScape player, specifically old school RuneScape. I play a lot of OSRS, and in that game, if you reach 99 in a skill, you get a cape for it. And that cape is mostly for just a literal visual purposes. That it's there so you can look cool. However, it also has a teleport. The teleport necessarily isn't what we're going to be talking too much about. It is a visual of you completing something that is going to take forever to do for other skills. They can take it a step further and don't just have all of the 99 capes. However, you also has the Master Cape. The Master Cape is something that you can get if you complete all the skills in the game. Essentially, if you reach 99 in all skills, you get the Master Cape, and so on. And on top of that, RuneScape also has the system with pets, where if you are extremely lucky, you can get a pet. These pets can take a long time to drop. They are on both bosses and in skills. So if you're fishing, you can get the heron, like flying bird pet behind you. But each boss also has a pet that usually is a 1 in 5,000 drop chance. I think it's something like that. It is a fairly rough drop chance for a pet. But they are a display of both skill, but also just a commitment to playing that piece of content. They are a super cool little thing that you can grind for and display as sort of an achievement. Now let's look at Destiny. What does Destiny have for you to display your achievements and everything? Well, you have titles. They're pretty good. You also have emblems, and that's it. That is your displaying of your achievements. That is a bit unfortunate in my opinion, as most people see an emblem and have no fucking idea where they're from, because there are so fucking many that are literally just giveaways from content creators. Now, I'm not saying that there is an issue with Bungie holding giveaways for emblems. I am saying that it's stagnating that pool of also the display items for your skill. It would be like RuneScape giving away cloaks of like different colors and whatnot. They're just kind of diluted, and people will care less and less overall. And that's exactly what happened to Destiny. There are so many emblems that you have to actually have some game knowledge to even understand what they are for. In RuneScape, it is fairly easily displayed, as the capes are literally just, whatever skill you have completed on the back and then some colors. That's it. Now, my suggestion for Destiny to have a similar system would be what I like to call ornaments, because they are literally called ornaments. I think more people would look at you cool if you got a unique ornament piece for your bond for like completing 100 Warlord's ruins or dungeons of like maybe Vesper's Host, right? If you complete 100 of a specific dungeon the entire way through, right, you get this unique display piece. And same thing goes for raids, right? Having some unique piece of item tied to them on ornament that people would actually wear would kind of start to help. As an example of that, you could also just, to be very honest, if you did Master as an example, you could get a literal cloak on your like chest piece. That's the same for every character. It is just there to sort of give you a reward. It could also be a ship or ghost. But more so, I would, in my opinion, and good idea in my opinion would be to add some sort of follower pet system as well. That would be nice. Just having like a super fucking hard grind. It can be a 1 in 10,000 drop specifically from Atheon, but then you have a tiny Atheon following you around. Or like maybe just a ship or sparrow. Something. Just fucking something. And it's something that shouldn't be sellable. Meaning that there shouldn't be an Eververse equivalent of it. There shouldn't be another variant. It should specifically be something that you can only have if you get these super rare things done. Or maybe, and in my opinion much more acceptably, it should be at maybe 500 Atheon completions or something like that. This could also be solved if we had another cool system being a clan hall or something like that, and you could have clan achievements, which could then be hung on the wall and displayed to other clans. That would be fucking cool, but that doesn't exist because Bungie just haven't done that. They haven't had the focus in that area, and I think that's really unfortunate. I think the same thing should go for low man raids. Low man raids should, in my opinion, be something that you could, if you had housing, display in your housing area. Like imagine you go into a clan that you're trying to get recruited into and you see that they have both done low man raiding and one of them has a little Atheon following him around or something. Just any pet or display of it that you can buy from Eververse would really help in that area of displaying achievements, in my opinion. And you could even go a step further. I'd say that there should be ornaments for every raid weapon that is obtainable by playing the raid on Master Mode. Meaning that you get a unique ornament for the game, or like for the guns that you are like wearing, by completing the Master Mode raid. I think that is an entirely acceptable thing to do, as it is entirely visual. Of course, it shouldn't be a thing that you had to do if you're like playing casually and you don't want to grind it out. You don't have to. That's the beauty of cosmetics. You don't have to go for them, but there needs to be some sort of goal for people to really hard grind out. I also think, of course, the Iron Man modes and so on could feed into that system of having a separate, like a fourth character slot that is specifically for that, being like some sort of limited game mode. Maybe it is the Nuzlocke where you only have a set amount of weapons, and if you die, you have to delete those weapons, and then you have to reobtain them. And the further you get in that game mode, the more ornaments you get for different weapons and maybe class items depending on the class, right? Just something that people would visually like look at and be like, that's fucking cool. Because emblems aren't doing that currently, unfortunately. And with that being said, let's move over to content stagnation. Content stagnation is something that's been happening in Destiny because of a combination of different factors. For one, we have had the seasonal sort of content time thing for like a good amount of time now, but just about 6 years. It is an insane amount of time to do the same formula of content, so of course it's hard to feel stagnant. On top of that, there's been little to no innovation within the sort of core game modes in the game. Both Crucible feels like it's dying, same goes for Strikes really, and same goes for Gambit that nobody plays Gambit, let's be real. And like that's like sort of the place where we are at. It feels like the game modes within Destiny are sort of dying off in favor of the seasonal content, something which nobody is happy with. As everybody likes a good strike, nobody likes a good battleground, because battlegrounds are fucking ass. Anyway, we have to talk about it in the sense that Bungie have acknowledged it. They have mentioned that this model of content just isn't viable. It is not good for the game and it's getting boring. What they're doing, sort of to fix that, is they're moving entirely away from the episodic and or seasonal content model, and they're moving over to having 2 medium-sized expansions a year. That means there'll be about Shadowkeep size, which Shadowkeep was a fine expansion. To make that work, however, Bungie needs to also deliver what Shadowkeep delivered. Now, I'm not expecting them to both pump out a raid and a dungeon for each of them. I would certainly hope they do so, but if they don't, I get that as long as there's either a raid or a dungeon in each of them. However, they have to deliver a fully fledged campaign, just like Shadowkeep did, with, a story and whatnot, and then a raid, of course, and some after content past that. Like we had the moon. We need something like that. And I think that would be a fine way to do it if that can give them enough time to actually innovate the content. In addition to that, I wouldn't say a lot of the content needs to, but a lot of those missions, ideally, if there isn't time to develop strikes, because there should be unique strikes as well, and crucible maps, and gambit maps. But if there isn't enough time to develop those, ideally, you should be able to take some of those story missions and turn them into strikes. As in comparison to a battleground, a story mission or most of the strikes, they tend to be much more objective focused. You're going from objective to objective. You're not just going from one point, waiting at a door like D1, shooting some enemies, then going to the next point, waiting for a bit, killing some enemies, and then moving to a boss, killing the boss, and then you're out. Strikes tend to at least have some feeling of progression, whereas battlegrounds just don't. And I think that is very important to mention. It's why most people seemingly don't like battlegrounds, I think. It's because they just don't have the feeling of progression that strikes do. And more so, we have to acknowledge that, well, while doing the system, they have to also deliver on actual good content because, that's what we want. We want good content. We don't want Bungie to go completely out there and just create the same thing. And I think Bungie can do it. I think Bungie sometimes tend to strike gold. They do some stupid fucking game mode or like a unique little thing. And that's fun. As an example, they did fishing. Fishing was never a thing I thought I'd like in Destiny, but I loved that thing. That was fun, that was unique, that was a chill little extra thing in Destiny that didn't need to be there, but it was the primary way I interacted with the season. Just like right now, the primary way I interact with the current act of the game is through potion crafting. I don't fucking play that content because it's bad. Having some small gimmick in addition to having whatever fucking boss and whatnot they want, I think would be a really cool idea. I also think that in general, just innovation, try new things, be unique, don't be scared of making something that's bad. I think I can speak for everybody when I say I would rather play something bad than something that's so safe that it's boring. I would rather play content where I'm like, this is actively ass, but it's engaging, than playing content where I'm like, this is just really boring. Bungie said it themselves. People feeling apathy towards the game is about the worst you can get. And that's where we are at. There are not a whole lot of people like me who still care, who still, can get riled up and angry about Destiny. Because people have moved on. They just don't care anymore. And for good reason, why should they? Bungie have been doing the exact same things for years on end now. The things that they've been criticized for haven't fucking changed. The loot is still stagnant. The content is still the same thing. The video focused on PvP never happened. We've never really gotten more strikes. We got more battlegrounds, which to be fair is more than any other fucking game mode, but that in and of itself is fucking sad. It's also sad that Bungie just doesn't seem to understand what people want in these day modes. I have to say it, health gating isn't the way to fucking go. It's okay to give a boss faces, but if they have a face and does a health gate, there also needs to be something to do in between it. Him putting up a fucking shield for 5 minutes just to go and floor down. It's not a rework of a strike, it is just making it fucking bad. Stop it. I feel we're moving in a good direction with the new enemy mutators and modifiers. They can be annoying, yes, but they are also fun. They actively make me engage with Destiny, whereas before, I don't think at all. I just completely shut off my brain and don't bother. Let's take more of that. Let's do more of exactly that. Unique and fun small ideas. If that's all we can do, then do that. But don't do all of this fucking bullshit with health gating. I don't think there's a single person who likes it. And I get why they do it, because obviously, if they don't, we just run around one-shot the fucking boss. But then give him a health gate, but let there be something to be gated too. As an example, if a boss moves into like a phase 2, where they're visually different, they are like all over the place. Maybe there is some mechanic you have to perform or something happening. I don't mind the health gate. I mind it when it is lively. When he just goes up and AFKs on a pillar and I have to kill some enemies. That's dumb. What are you doing? Just make it interesting, make it fun, and then you can health gate as much as you want. And with that being said, I am done talking about this for a little bit. I am gonna talk more about Act 2 once I've gotten to play all of it. I am gonna talk about it probably at the same time that I'm gonna be talking about the entirety of episode 3. I'd assume I think I might just do them together unless it really just blow my mind in either way. And unless there's any big updates happening, I won't be talking too much about Destiny in the future. I think I am gonna look forward to, as I said, I am optimistic. I am very, very, very much scared, but I am optimistic, cautiously optimistic. Looking forward to Apollo and the big expansions in the future. I want to see what they do. I want to see what it takes us, but I can safely say that me, along with a bunch of other people, in my opinion and what I think, are getting to the point where we just don't care about Destiny anymore, and because of these issues that I've mentioned. And that's unfortunate, because Destiny is still a really unique and a really interesting game. And while there are apparently multiple other first-person shooter MMOs being developed, currently there are no other on the market, meaning that Destiny stands by itself in that corner of the market. And while they are by themselves, they're of course gonna be king. There isn't any competition, but I think the second people start to see competition, and the second that competition starts to do better than Bungie, Destiny is gonna be blown out of the water. Because quite frankly, as things have gone now, the game feels too stagnant, it feels too samey, and I think some of the things that I've outlined in this video could fix it, but I don't know if Bungie are gonna actually implement it. We'll have to see. We'll have to wait and see. So with that being said, I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for spending your time with me here today, and I'll see you all later. Bye.